pressures were high, and you did know as the year went along, it was all leading up to that Breeders' Crown.
San Pail to the roar of the crowd at Woodbine. Rapide LaBelle second on the outside, still closing. Here comes Commander Crow off cover now, 3 wide for the drive. San Pail, when called on to do so, digs in for Waples. San Pail on the inside on his home turf. San Pail, you the man!
The whole year flew by, really, because you're always focused on the next race coming. So for me, I didn't really get to take a lot of it in, but pressures were high, and you did know as the year went along, it was all leading up to that Breeders' Crown and the hype of the European horses coming over, and you got to see, you know, through videos or press how good they were over there and what they thought of their horse, and obviously we thought a lot of our horse, and I was pretty confident. You know, the competition we had here was, I think, as stiff as the European horses, so I think we had a pretty good judge on that.
There was a lot of pressure going on there, not just the purse, not just the fact that it was the Breeders' Crown, it's what everything else meant. You know, we knew that if he won that, then there was a pretty good chance he was going to win North American Horse of the Year, and you know, that kind of stuff meant a lot. There was no breeding career or anything, but we'd come this close and we wanted to see the end of the movie, so it was the biggest race that I'd ever been in, for sure.
7 of racing's greatest older trotters in behind the gate. It's the Breeders' Crown Final Open Trot. Here they come. They're off and trotting, and Arch Madness strikes first down the center from the inside. Pedal to the metal is Define the World.
Going into that race, he had drew well, so I figured if I could get close to the front or behind one of the good horses, that was my strategy.
And it's Define the World with rail control. Arch Madness is camped at his flank from in second. Taken back towards the inside from in third, there is San Pail.
I believe he was on the gate and felt good leaving, and it looked like San Pail was going to just relax off the gate and then eventually come around to the front, so I wasn't concerned about that at all.
And revving up early on the outside comes Rapide LaBelle, and he's going to be 3 high because Waples has got him hung out there 3 high as they drive into that first turn.
The move Randy made at the quarter pole obviously was huge, and I think being successful that night. There was a lot of pressure on Randy that night, I'm sure, although he may not admit it. But he made the right moves and set the horse up for success that night with that move right there.
I took a look over my shoulder, and I loved where I got away. I thought I got away in a perfect spot, and Brian was still on the outside, but when I seen the other 2 horses, they weren't taken back. They were just sitting out in the middle of the track, and they were starting to drift down towards me. Then I didn't like the spot I was in at all, so I decided that I'd better get out and make sure that I didn't get hemmed in, and that's the way it worked.
And a quick quarter of 26 2/5 seconds. With that early lead, Define the World takes this field to the backstretch from Macdonell. Challenging up on the outside now, here comes San Pail. Back there from in third is Arch Madness. On his cover fourth is Rapide LaBelle. Then Commander Crow from in fifth to the outside.
I was real happy with where I was sitting at the quarter pole. It seemed like San Pail made the front fairly easy, and he was definitely the horse that I had targeted prior to the race that was going to be, take me where I needed to go. And, I thought if I could draft behind him as far and as long as I could, that was a great strategy for me.
San Pail positioned on the point now as Waples takes charge through the half in 54 4/5 seconds. Back to second now, Define the World. Rapide LaBelle the outside from in third. Commander Crow's covered up on that one from in fourth.
Both the replays showed them being parked the whole mile, and they still won, so I knew that they could last out there. But the beauty at that point with me and San Pail was I was in front with them. There was nobody ahead of me, and nobody scared me.
As the trotters begin the bend into the far turn, San Pail, Waples leaders by a length. Rapide LaBelle second on the outside. In at the rail third, Define the World. Commander Crow setting up a second over rally from in fourth.
Around the last turn, I was still strong on the bit, and I felt like, wow, it could be, maybe me and San Pail. But then the European horses started to, come up on the outside, and you just know they're iron tough. And at that point, I figured, well, if we can hang on for a good check here, it would be even a bonus now. So as we got deeper into the stretch, they were a lot more powerful than we were. And I just watched San Pail trot away down the lane, and it looked like he wasn't going to be denied, and as it turned out, he wasn't.
San Pail to the roar of the crowd at Woodbine. Woodbine. Knifes out 3/4 in 123-1. Rapide LaBelle second on the outside, still closing. Here comes Commander Crow off cover now, 3 wide for the drive.
You know, they were still out there. They were still hanging out there. I was shocked, you know, that they could just keep surviving and surviving. And he still had trot left, but not, you know, not enough that I knew that he was just going to absolutely romp or anything like that. So I started him up and just kept his mind on it, and he did the rest all on his own. The closer they got to him, the harder he fought.
San Pail, when called on to do so, digs in for Waples. San Pail on the inside on his home turf. San Pail, you the man! San Pail wins the Breeders Crown Open Trot in 151-4. Rapide LaBelle second, and Commander Crow was third.
Yeah, I got goosebumps right now just thinking about it, actually. But yeah, it was pretty exciting. I actually walked away probably about 50, maybe 80 feet away from the wire with my hands in the air, declaring victory, because I didn't think Pail was going to let them by, and he didn't. So he didn't disappoint.
It was a different feeling because I really started to get a soft spot for Pail, and right from the time I started driving him, I had a very, very good relationship with Rod and his dad. So knowing that those were going to be the first two guys that see me when I got into the winner's circle, and everything had gone smooth and everything, it was really nice. It was nice to come back, and then the crowd just made it even more. Again, I'd never heard a crowd be that crazy, not any time I went into the winner's circle anyway, and I'm sure they weren't cheering for me, but it was nice to be a part of that horse that night.
The feelings afterwards, it took a while really to settle in, you know, all the way back to the winner's circle. Randy and I had a lot of time to talk, and a few tears on the way back through on the thoroughbred track that night. And then by the time you get there, and obviously the crowd was so loud, it was a lot to take in, but it was exciting.
One of the biggest memories is after the quarter and Pail cleared, it was literally the roar of the crowd. Yeah, it was huge, you know, the goosebumps. Everyone was so excited, and from that point, for the rest of the race, they didn't stop yelling. It was like he had the wave of the crowd behind him, and yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, it's funny, Pail is just one of those horses that attracted attention of so many early, and it just seemed to grow all the way through his career, and more people would come out to watch him, and even follow him down to the States to watch race. And yeah, it was great. You know, I don't think there's many, you know, go back to Camfella days or some beach, you know, there's only two that I can remember, you know, really that had that type of following, that people would actually get off their couch and head out to watch that horse race. So it was exciting for that as well.
They were very comparable as far as Fanfare. Both had a big following, and, you know, like I can remember even that night at Woodbine, you know, the crowd was certainly cheering him on just as much as they were cheering Beach on 3 years prior. So it was quite phenomenal to see that. And of course, they always had the great winner's circle crowds that, you know, swarmed them. So we could use some more of that going forward.
I really have no idea how Rod kept that horse so good, and how he had him so good every time that horse raced for money. I mean, I might have made mistakes and stuff like that when he was going for money, but it was never Rod. And if all trainers were like Rod to drive for, it'd make things even better than it is. And trust me, it's a great gig driving horses, but when you once in a while stumble onto a Rod and Jerry Hughes, it makes it even that much better, because they were just fantastic to be around.
Randy was a bigger part of Pail than he'll let on. Huge part of San Pail's success all the way through, especially Breeders' Crown night.
Rod's fit with Pail is very much because they're one and the same. They're both very strong-willed, very determined. They like to do things their way. And that being said, Rod was really patient with Pail. He waited on him, he listened to him, and he really managed him in a way that worked for Pail. So I think that was really what made Rod such a great fit for that horse.
A huge part of Pail's success over the years has been obviously family and everybody caring for him the way they have. You know, Dad's always been there, Emily's always been there. Wyatt was there since, you know, he was 3-4 years old, and you know, Mom, she always took charge of maybe trying to organize the following of Pail and stuff like that. So it's huge. My sister is always there. You know, my family's racehorse family, so it means a lot.
At the time of Pail racing, I was 4 and 3, and it was fun to go watch him race, and the Breeders' Crown was one of his biggest races that I remember.
Just living here on this farm up in Rockwood we moved to, and he's got a little buddy that he goes out with every day, a pony, and now he's good. He he likes to eat and enjoy life.
I take him out of the paddock once or twice, and I help feed and stuff.
You know something, I watch a lot of his replays and that even still to this day, and he means a lot to me, and yeah, 10 years does seem like it's an awful lot, but I seen him out at the farm last year when I was out there, and he looks terrific and looks like you could throw a harness on him and go out and train him or jog him, so he's having a great life, and he'll always be the horse that's the dearest to me.
I think my favorite memory is when I used to sit on the back of the race bike in the winner's circle, and that was always fun to be able to be in the winner's circle with Pail.
Yeah, it's it's tough to even go back and watch some of those replays, especially Breeders' Crown night with all the fans. Still get a little choked up over it. So yeah, it's all still right there. People still talk about it. It's just a memory, not just for me. It's a memory for really so many.